We got shirts on sale. Express your love for the evolutions and the new channel rebrand with an evolution t-shirt and hoodie. On sale now. Also, if you like anime, go check out our anime channel MysticSage for awesome anime content. And be sure to follow me on social media so you can stay caught up with the channels and me. Links will be in the description below. Today, we're going to be continuing with the new take on the Best Team series I did a few weeks back, where we build the team based around a character, take a look at how it would handle a certain region, and then break down their team for competitive play in the generation their trainer comes from. We started with Cynthia, and I figured we'd continue with another beloved female trainer, Serena. The way things will work here is that I'll be choosing 6 Pokemon for Serena to use on this Best Team, from across the several different pieces of Pokemon media that she has appeared in. These can be the anime, the games, the manga, and the trading card game, among others. Since we're going to talk about using this team both in-game and competitively, I'm going to go over them separately. When it comes to the in-game playthrough side of things, the plan here is for you to start the game with all 6 Pokemon at level 5, genned in or otherwise. From there, I'll show you just how easy they help make a playthrough of the game with some of the moves they'll have at their disposal, yet skip over a little bit of the usual stuff I do with these in-game best teams, like actual moveset and whatnot. When I'm through with the part, we'll get into the competitive discussion, and the same what we normally do with theme best teams. With this intro out of the way, let's get right into things and show off Serena's best team that can get her from the first gym leader in Kalos all the way up to being the champion. We're going to kick things off in the most logical place with the Pokemon Serena would be using as her starter. For this, I decided to use one of the 3 Kalos starters, since in X and Y, your rival being Serena, we'll use any of the 3 depending on which you chose. Naturally, with Chespin, Froakie, and Fennekin, all his choices, I just had to go with the best of the 3 in Froakie. That means Serena's got a Greninja, and that's an extremely good Pokemon to be starting a journey with. It's got the hidden ability Protean that will change Greninja's typing to match the typing of move it is using. For instance, if Greninja is using hidden power Fire, its typing will change to Fire, and so on. It gets access to very good moves across several typings like Scald, Dark Pulse, Gunk Shot, Ice Beam, and Acrobatics, thus turning it into a definite jack-of-all-typings kind of Pokemon. However, despite all the different sorts of stab Greninja can get with Protean, will operate under the idea of it only getting stabbed from water and dark, and thus that'll do well against Gransamora, Olympia's whole team, Malva's whole team, Seabold's Starmie, Wixstrom's Aegislash and Probopass, and finally, Diantha's Gourgeist and Aurorus. As you can see, Greninja is going to be pretty helpful when you face off with the Elite Four. Next on the team is Clefable, as used by Serena in Pokemon X and Y. I could have gone Sylveon here, but I preferred to go with Clefable as it has a ton of coverage it can obtain for several different typings, so it can cover some of the stuff Greninja doesn't with its diverse move pool. It is of course one of the more powerful Fairy-type Pokemon, and right off the bat, it shot up in tier when Gen 6 came out. It's got Moonblast, Thunderbolt, Flamethrower, and a plethora of other fantastic moves that can really go well with set of moves like Calm Mind. It's got good abilities too, like Magic Guard and Unaware, giving us options. As a Fairy-type, Clefable is able to do well against Grant's Tyrant, Drazna's whole team, and Diantha's Hawlucha, Tyrantrum, and Goodra. Well, as you can tell, Clefable just relying on Fairy-type moves doesn't exactly help you too terribly much if all you're going for is super effective damage. However, for the Pokemon that it isn't super effective against, you can still do some heavy damage with Fairy-type attacks. You gotta remember, the typing was brand new in X and Y, and thus very strong, so gym leaders like Ramos and Wolfric will probably be at the mercy of Fairy-type attacks as well. There's plenty of moves you'll be able to put on Clefable for other super effective damage, so just be on the lookout when you put this one together in a playthrough. Next up, we have Absol, the Pokemon Serena uses as her Mega in Pokemon X and Y. Now, in regards to this one, you will not be using it as a Mega in the playthrough, though I can assure you later, when we do the competitive part of the team, it will Mega Evolve. Absol is a pretty good physical attacker with very nice Dark-type moves to use in battle, including Knock Off, Night Slash, and of course Foul Play. It's got a few different abilities as well, and Super Luck is the best of the bunch, as it gives Absol a better shot at landing critical hits. With the Dark typing, Absol was only good against Olympia's whole team, Seabold's Starmie, Wixstrom's Aegislash, and Diantha's Gourgeist. Obviously, much like with Clefable, that's not a huge amount it can do with its stab. However, Absol's got access to some setup moves like Hone Claws and Swords Dance that will enable it to become even stronger physically and start tearing through all the different battles in Kalos. There's a nice amount of coverage moves it can turn to as well, so Absol is quite capable of using both its stab and interesting move pool to be worth having. Now we move on to Serena's Dragon-type Pokemon, Altaria. She uses one in X and Y, and while you may be sitting here wondering why I included a Dragon Pokemon in this very heavy climate, You gotta remember that Altaria is really good. Now obviously, we're not mega evolving it here, but it's still a very good Pokemon to include. You get some great setup moves like Cotton Guard and Dragon Dance, and Outrage is obviously a fantastic move to turn to in battle. Since it's a Dragon and Flying type, it'll be good against Viola's whole team, Ramus's whole team, Wolfric's Abomasnow, but you need to be careful, Dresna's whole team, and Diantha's Gourgeist, Hawlucha, Goodra, and Tyrantrum. But definitely look out for its Rock type move. Altaria is definitely a Pokemon that can make use of its good defenses to take hits, and then turn around and deal decent damage to any opponents throughout Kalos. I would be hard-pressed to not include an evolution, considering how many Serena has used in the games. And for this one, we're going with Jolteon. Jolteon brings a much-needed electrical presence to this team, and its ability Volt Absorb helps defend against electric types too. There are quite a few electric-type moves that Jolteon can call upon, like Thunder, Thunderbolt, Volt Switch, and Discharge, and thus it becomes one of the best of its typing available. Jolteon's electric types will do well against Viola's whole team, Olympia's Slowking and Sigilith, Malva's Talonflame, Seabolt's whole team, and Diantha's Hawlucha. Obviously, Jolteon will come in handy when facing off with Elite Four as well, and its speed will prove useful throughout your journey as you try to gain the upper hand on all the battles you have in Kalos. Finally, this one is a bit of an interesting Pokemon to include. This actually goes into the manga, using a character that doesn't actually have the same name Serena, but is for sure her manga equivalent. I'm talking about Wise Xerneas. Xerneas is the box art legend of Pokemon X, and is still to this day at the top of the fairy-type Pokemon food chain. So, just like with Rayquaza on the Cynthia team, you'll start with Xerneas at level 5, and will have the chance to battle through Kalos with a real fine Pokemon. You'll also have access to Geomancy, that'll of course make Xerneas super strong, along with some other great fairy-type moves. So with Xerneas, you'll be able to be effective against all the same Pokemon Clefable is good against, except now, you'll have a legendary Pokemon with its incredible stats and move pool. You're going to be able to go toe-to-toe with just about everyone in the region using Xerneas, and you're going to have plenty of other options on the team for when you run into Fire, Steel, and Poison types. Now that we've got the in-game aspects out of the way, we're free to move on to the competitive team. We'll head right back to the beginning and start with Greninja, and for sure it'll be using Protean. Like I mentioned before, Protean will change Greninja's typing to that of whichever move it is using, thus making every move it goes for Stab. It's going to be holding the Expert Belt, which will make its super effective attacks 1.2 times stronger. So if it goes for an Ice type move on a Dragon type, it's going to receive a boost from Stab and Expert Belt, thus making it very clear that the Expert Belt and Protean go together quite well. As for Greninja's stats, let's start off with 252 EVs in Special Attack and Speed. Now, you can use Greninja as either a Special Attacker or Physical one to great success, but I prefer making it a Special Attacker thanks to the sort of moves it gets on that end of things. The EVs will give Greninja 305 in Special Attack, and throwing in the Timid nature gives it blistering 377 Speed. Greninja's moveset is Scald, Ice Beam, Dark Pulse, and Extrasensory. These are some of its best special moves, and they offer a good amount of coverage. We start with Scald, which will make purely water type, and with Stab it'll end up with 120 base power. There's also a 30% chance to burn the opponent as well, making it the main move to use. The next one is Ice Beam, and that will make Greninja obviously an Ice type. And the move's base power shoots up to 135 with a 10% chance to freeze the opponent. Then there's Dark Pulse, which will make Greninja Dark type, and make it 120 base power from Stab with a 10% chance to flinch the opponent. Finally, we've got Extrasensory, and that'll go up to 120 from Stab as well, and it's also got a 10% chance to flinch your opponent. These moves provide great coverage against over half the typings in the game, and they make Greninja a really helpful partner in battle. We now move on to the next one on this team, that being Clefable. Clefable's abilities are all in a way rather decent, though Cute Charm is definitely the weakest of the grouping. The best is the one I ended up going with, as you'd expect, and it's Magic Guard. This ability makes it so that Clefable can only take damage from direct attacks, and thus things like entry hazards and certain items can't hurt Clefable at all. That means that the item I gave it, the Life Orb, will do no damage to Clefable, but it still gives that 1.3 times boost to its attack power. Let's talk about making Clefable even stronger with a modest nature, and 252 EVs in Special Attack and HP. It's going to be getting much needed bulk at 394 HP, and that Special Attack stat becomes 317. Calm Mind, Moonblast, Psyshock, and Flamethrower are the moves Clefable's rocking out with today. Calm Mind will raise its Special Attack and Special Defense by a stage with each usage, and using it just once will bring that Special Attack up to 475 and the Special Defense to 325. If you can get off one more, then you'll have yourself an extremely strong special defensive wall, and that's a perfect role for Clefable. Moonblast is next, and that move will see a boost to 142 base power from Stab, and then a further boost to 185 thanks to the Life Orb. Also, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the 30% chance to lower the opponent's special attack, thus crippling special attackers more against Clefable. The next move is Psyshock, and that's of course great coverage for the poison types, and by proxy, fire types. It deals damage based on the opponent's physical defense, and it'll get boosted to 104 base power thanks to that life orb. Finally, there's Flamethrower, a coverage move for the steel types with a 10% chance to burn the opponent. Its base power goes up to 117 with the life orb boost as well, so you'll probably get some decent mileage out of it against quite a few other typings as well. Next up, we'll move on to the Mega of this team, Absol. Mega Absol is a bona fide physical attacker, and has some decent speed on it as well. It's got the ability Magic Bounce, which will cause all entry hazards set up while Absol is out there to be bounced back, as well as any moves like Toxic and Will-O-Wisp. Its stats are set up to give it 232 EVs in speed and attack, and it's given the Jelly nature as well. That gives Mega Absol 399 attack and 361 speed, and I know you guys have figured out by now that it's going to be a speedy physical attacker. Though, as you're about to see in the moveset, it'll be even stronger. Mega Absol is set up with Hone Claws, Knockoff, Iron Tail, and Rock Slide. Hone Claws is a move that will drive Absol's attack and accuracy up by a stage with each usage, and with this moveset, a boost in accuracy is very much needed. Plus, that 399 attack will go up to 598 after just one usage, and Absol will become one of the scariest Pokemon on the team. Knockoff is Stab, and if the opponent is holding an item, its 65 base power will go up to 135. It's a powerful move, and a great help when facing any competitive team, since they're bound to be holding items. Next up is Iron Tail, and with 75 accuracy, it's going to really appreciate that accuracy boost from Hone Claws. It's got 100 base power, and will be fantastic coverage against the threatening Fairy-type Pokemon of the world. It'll be a good one to pull out against fighting types too, so consider Iron Tail to be a fantastic all-purpose move with a 30% chance to lower the opponent's defense too. Finally, there is Rock Slide, a 75 base power move with 90% accuracy and a 30% chance to flinch the opponent. It serves as coverage for bug types, the only other one that Absol really needed to worry about. Hone Claws really brings the set together and turns this Mega into one worth using. There are also some other offensive options for Absol in Play Rough and Psycho Cut, so if you're looking for reliable fighting type coverage, Play Rough will be your best bet. Psycho Cut can be used for both fighting and poison types, so that's pretty great coverage too. Absol's got a pretty good move pool, so there are a lot of possibilities. We're chugging on now with Altaria, yet another Pokemon that will be built upon setup. Altaria is pretty good, and it's got a duo of good abilities in Natural Cure and Cloud 9. For the sake of being useful more often than the other, I went with Natural Cure, which will get rid of any element Altaria has when it switches out. I've given it the leftovers as well, which gives Altaria back a 16th of its HP at the end of each turn. In the stats department, I've given it 232 EVs in HP and special defense, building up that special bulk it already is blessed with. It's got the Careful nature as well, giving it 354 HP and 339 special defense. Like I mentioned, it's got a lot still to be set up, and we're going to get into that right now. Dragon Dance and Cotton Guard are the two moves that provide further setup for Altaria, and Outrage and Roost act as fine support. Dragon Dance will boost Altaria's attack and speed by a stage with each usage, so after just one is used, those stats will be at 265 and 294. The attack stat isn't phenomenal, but Altaria is more about being a wall than anything else, so it's all good. Cotton Guard will double Altaria's defense and really add into that defensive philosophy. Using it once will set Altaria's defense to 432, putting it above even the special defense. Altaria will be able to take a few hits from Pokemon outside of its type weaknesses, and that's a pretty great thing. Outrage is stab boosted to 180 base power, so it'll make for a good physical attack against anything but fairy types. Quite frankly, I'd just not bother with trying to use Altaria against fairy types, but you guys probably already figured that. Finally, there's Roost, which will take away the flying typing for a turn and allow Altaria to regain half of its max HP back. This Altaria is made to just act as a tank that takes hits and stalls out its opponents while chipping away using Outrage. If I wasn't so committed to using Mega Absol since that was a Mega Serena actually used, I definitely have used Mega Altaria. If you guys don't know about just how strong Mega Altaria can be, I'd go check out my top 10 strongest Dragon types video where I talk about it. Let's get to the penultimate member of this team, that's Speedy Jolteon. It's got the ability Volt Absorb, which will give it a quarter of its health back if it gets hit with an electric type move. So the option of trying to switch in on electric type moves during battle is always there for Jolteon. It's going to be wearing the choice specs as well, so its special attack will go up by 1.5 times. But it'll of course be locked into the first move it goes for when out in battle. We're giving 252 EVs in special attack and speed and the timid nature. And since those are both base 110 and 130, you know they'll be pretty high. How high, you might be wondering? Well, it's 319 in special attack and 394 in speed, a couple of great totals. That special attack though, of course, is going to be much higher because of the specs, all the way up to 478. So yeah, like I said, they're pretty high stats. Jolteon's moveset is Discharge, Shadow Ball, Hidden Power Ice, and Volt Switch. The one problem with Jolteon is that it definitely is made to focus on its electric typing, and this doesn't have the most diverse move pool. Discharge is stab boosted to 120 base power, and has a 30% chance to paralyze the opponent, serving as the best move Jolteon has got to use on this set. Though if you want that 10 extra power over the 20% extra chance to paralyze, rock out with Thunderbolt instead. It'll go up to 135 base power, so it's a good move as well. Shadow Ball is just something for coverage against other electric types, and a few other kinds of Pokemon. It's got 80 base power and a 20% chance to lower the opponent's special defense. Then there's Hidden Power Ice with 60 base power, to serve as coverage against Jolteon's only weakness, the ground typing. Finally, we've got Volt Switch, which would end up serving as a stab move that could get Jolteon out into someone else if need be. It goes up to 105 base power with stab, and as I just alluded to, it'll allow Jolteon to switch into a different Pokemon on your team. Now we reach the final Pokemon for the team, the legendary Xerneas, or Zurzer according to the Pokemon manga. Xerneas' ability is Fairy Aura, and it will make the base power of Fairy type moves go up by 1.3 times, and that's a pretty fantastic ability for the strongest Fairy type to have. It's got a great base HP at 126 and special attack at 131, so I've got to focus in on those with my 252 EVs of the Modest Nature. Xerneas will have 455 HP and 397 special attack with those boosts, so expect it to take some hits and absolutely annihilate with powerful special moves. The final moveset we've got for this video starts off with Geomancy and Moonblast, and is followed by Psychic and closes with Focus Blast. Geomancy is Xerneas' signature move, and in exchange for one turn of charging, it'll double Xerneas' special attack, special defense, and speed. Now of course you don't want to have to sacrifice 2 turns for one move, as that could lead to Xerneas getting KO'd before you even get to take advantage of the new stats. So for an item, I gave it the Power Herb. With the Power Herb, it's going to skip over the turn needed to charge and immediately give you the stat boosts. So now, Xerneas has 794 special attack, 468 special defense, and 468 speed. And from there, you'll be clear to wreck the opponent. Moonblast has its base power boosted by Stab and Fairy Aura to 185, and with its 30% chance to lower the opponent's special attack, it just acts as the ultimate move for Xerneas to use, since its special defense is up so high already. Next up is Psychic, which is coverage of the poison types, and that's got 90 base power and a 10% chance to lower the opponent's special defense. Finally, we've got Focus Blast, which lacks great accuracy, but still serves as a fantastic bit of coverage for the steel types out there at 120 base power with yet another 10% chance to lower the opponent's special defense. Xerneas is incredibly good, and has the best potential out of any Pokemon on the team to sweep the opponent, bar none. Well, that's going to wrap things up for another best team taking a look at a certain trainer. I hope you guys enjoyed this one as much as you did the Cynthia one, and I hope you guys enjoyed this little flashback to the 6th generation. I may not care for X and Y too much, but I definitely had fun putting this team together and watching how it stacks up against the Kalos region. I want to hear from you guys though, so let me know what you thought about this team and if there's any Pokemon you'd switch out for one of Serena's others. I'm interested to see what you guys have to say. If you enjoyed the video, why not leave a like and subscribe to my channel with notifications on, that way you never miss an upload. If you want to support me further, consider following my Twitch where I stream all sorts of games from Pokemon to Fire Emblem to Zelda and much more. I also have an anime channel called MysticSage where I do anime reviews, rankings, and countdowns. So if you're interested in that kind of content, go ahead and check that out as well. If you want to support me even further and gain cool perks, check out my Patreon. These lovely people have all given me their support over there and I couldn't be more grateful to them. I think I'm gonna wrap this up though. I'm Mystic Umbreon and I will see you in the future for more awesome Pokemon content.